Hello everyone, and welcome to our live webinar, Generative Design with Grasshopper in BricsCAD BIM. The presentation today will be done by our BIM product specialist, Fleur, and by myself, Jean-Philippe, Business Development Manager here at Bricsys. We have also with us for the Q&A, Carlos Perez from the McNeel Community. So this is for your information. Let's go to the next slide. Let me start with the learning objectives for today. We will explain to you about who Bricsys is and what you can expect from our BricsCAD BIM product. As a participant in this webinar, you might be someone whose job is to design BIM models and components, or maybe you deal with repetitive tasks like designing 2D generated drawings that are as good as identical all over again and again, such as in steel hull construction or in stair manufacturing, or in designs that are free form and constantly need changing parameters, like a canopy, for example. We then briefly mention the McNeel community and explain shortly about Rhinoceros and Grasshopper. But the main topic of today, of course, is why do we offer a direct interface between BricsCAD and Grasshopper? After that, I will finally let Fleur do the main work. She will demonstrate and definitely show you the benefits of the BricsCAD with Rhino Grasshopper interface. Before we get started, I just want to quickly mention that you have an option to post your questions in the questions box. We'll be going through these questions during the webinar and in the Q&A session at the end. Again, we also have Carlos Perez with us, so please feel free to ask questions anytime in the questions box. Also, this session will be recorded and shared with all of you after the webinar. Keep an eye on our events page. We'll have the recording published there too. So let's get started. First things first now, of course, some of you might know our BricsCAD products, but they are developed by us, Bricsys. So who are we? Bricsys is a global provider of CAD, BIM, MCAD, and SaaS common data environment products brought to market under the BricsCAD and Bricsys 24/7 brands. We are part of Hexagon AB, a $20 billion technology group. We have product users in over 110 countries. Bricsys was founded in 2002, and BricsCAD is now in its 20th release. So we have been building cost-effective, powerful, and stable CAD tools for almost 2 decades. With our headquarters in Ghent, we have over 200 employees spread across the globe. So now you know who Bricsys is. Then shortly let me explain what is BricsCAD. Well, it's a family of CAD products, cost-effective and compatible alternatives to the popular CAD, LTCAD, BIM and MCAD products you use today. Before moving into the demo, let me highlight BricsCAD BIM in 2 slides. BricsCAD BIM offers a modern yet familiar building information modeling workflow that differs from all other software on the market today. It is just a different philosophy than, for example, you find with Revit. We focus on the design and on a smooth workflow to optimize your design. You will not need 3 different software packages for creating BIM models. This means you will be more efficient. This means you won't need to follow 3 different trainings. And with AI, you can add data to your model, and then you can categorize. You have the possibility to create 2D plans as well. And typically in the BIM process, we start by creating, for example, a nice conceptual drawing, like we see here on the left side. With BricsCAD BIM, you do not need to wonder about categorization and other technical BIM related stuff. No, you can just focus on your design and model in full 3D. Your concept design drives your client presentations with our advanced rendering tools, like Enscape for BricsCAD. And When you have approval of your conceptual model, then you can simply run BIMify and your 3D concept model becomes a building information model in seconds. There is no other BIM product on the market that can do this. If you look to the right side of this slide, I can tell you that the Propagate tool also leverages machine intelligence. When you detail, for example, a roof covering, then you simply ask the software to implement the same level of detailing on other parts in your drawing. This is Propagate, and it will suggest all the different spots where your roof covering is most likely needed. All you have to do then is just overview the result and switch the green V mark on or off to keep the detail or not. So in this way, your model gets detailed very fast and accurately. Again, no other BIM product does what we do as easily as we do it. As we like to say, BricsCAD BIM lifts creativity, not complexity. Now, allow us as well to look at the McNeel community. Please note that McNeel and Associates is a gold partner in our Bricsys collective. They joined us last year, and we officially announced the close collaboration during our Bricsys conference in Stockholm. Now, if we look at Rhino and Grasshopper as programs, you know, Grasshopper is a visual programming tool, and it runs within Rhino. Intuitive, that is the right word when you think of Grasshopper. You can explore your designs without having to learn a scripting language. Now, I won't give away too much of it yet, but please note that if you are an experienced Rhino Grasshopper user, you might want to BIMify your parametric or free-form models, or if you want to generate accurate plans from your designs in an easy manner, then you should look at what we can do, because Grasshopper allows you to reference Rhino geometry objects from it, like points, curves, or surfaces, and so on. And then you can create geometry or bake Grasshopper geometry back into BricsCAD BIM. Before going forward, we really want all of you to know that all the McNeel plugins allow for a wealth of possibilities. Rhino and BricsCAD both have very strong APIs. So far the intro. Now let us focus on the real thing we like to present here to you. I mean, let us focus on the actual question we highlighted here. Why? Why would we offer a direct interface between BricsCAD and Grasshopper? Allow me to highlight the main benefits of having the direct interface working for you. At first, our plugin is open source and free. It offers a direct interface between BricsCAD BIM and both Rhinoceros and Grasshopper. Rhino will run in the background, and you will get a new file tab of Grasshopper in your BricsCAD user interface. We offer real-time viewing of Grasshopper geometry in BricsCAD. So you can create new Grasshopper scripts from within BricsCAD or open existing Grasshopper scripts. In that case, you have to make sure that the data is internalized, which can be simply done by a right click and hit on internalize data. Or you can make changes to your BricsCAD model, which will update the script. So it's a bi-directional connection, meaning you can use BricsCAD geometry as an input, and then you bake from Grasshopper to BricsCAD. Of course, Fleur will show how that is done. There's also a custom tool set in Grasshopper for BricsCAD to handle very smoothly with icons and names that are typical for BricsCAD. For example, it contains the icon for profile names, which provides a name picker for all the profiles that are present in BricsCAD. We need to emphasize that with some coding inside scripts in Grasshopper and with both BricsCAD and Rhino's strong APIs, you have endless possibilities to script the behavior you want. You are able to mix the best functions of both programs in one Grasshopper script. So, but I should not keep you waiting any longer for the real show, and therefore I hand over the words and the screen to Fleur.
So, hello everyone. Let me start by telling you the learning objectives of the next 20 to 30 minutes. I'll explain first what is generative design. And then I will let you see how you can create a Grasshopper script or workflow. And to end, we will also cover, of course, the value of generative design in BricsCAD BIM, because we will show here the connection between Grasshopper and BricsCAD BIM. So you might wonder, how does it help you to gain time and to save money? Well, that's what I will try to explain you today. So first, you might wonder, what is generative design? Generative design is actually a synonym for parametric design. And when you mention one of those terms, people immediately start to think of models like this one on this picture here. It's a free-form flowing model adjustable by input parameters. Well, here, of course, you have a render, but in essence, if it's still a Grasshopper script, you can adjust everything by parameters. So yes, this is indeed one of the applications of generative design, very free-form models, but for me, it's so much more than that. Parametric modeling really gives everyone the possibility to adapt their designs at any given point in time, so that it can react to the changing conditions during any type of design process. So if you are designing jewelry, houses, or even submarines, or if you're an architect, a structural engineer, or an interior designer, knowledge of generative design can really help you streamline your creation process. So simply put, I can say that McNeel's Grasshopper allows you to take input parameters that you can see on the screen here, then go further and transform them throughout a visual script into the design of your dream that you can see here as a preview in the BricsCAD environment. So this is really what it means to have the Grasshopper inside BricsCAD. We will dig deeper in that once I start the live demo. But here you already see how the interface looks like. You have the canvas, as we call it, with your artwork or the wiggly lines that you can see here. And then you have also the toolbars, the components palettes, and the components tabs. So I said Grasshopper is visual programming. But you do not have to be afraid of the word programming. In fact, Grasshopper is suited for anyone. With some starter tutorials or some explanatory blog posts, as the ones that just came up on the Bricsys blogs, by the way, you are up and running in no time. So by using Grasshopper inside BricsCAD, your workflow will really change tremendously. Instead of starting your design in program X and then going further into program Y to go detail in program Z, you will now need only one platform. You need one package running in the industry standard DWG format, which with the help of some plugins such as Grasshopper, you can start your design parametrically, for example. Then afterwards, you can convert it into real solid geometry. And to conclude, you can make your detailed plans all in one software, BricsCAD. But we are talking about BricsCAD BIM here. So let's not forget about the BIM part. We are not just talking, well, what is BricsCAD BIM? What does the BIM stand for? Well, so at first it stands for Building Information Management, or also Building Information Modeling. The two definitions are used and as exchange for each other, but both in essence mean the same thing. It's all about the data. The data is managed during the entire life cycle of a building through the use of one or multiple 3D models. And those 3D models are really the key to a BIM process, as they store data in a visual way. Just now, imagine to store data in a parametrically visual way. Well, that's what Grasshopper and BricsCAD can do together. So let me just explain you the advantage of BIM in parametric models. Well, opposed to the regular CAD process, where all parties start individually and they send files to one another, you have one central model, the building information model, and all parties can access it. Lots of times this is done in the cloud, such as on our cloud collaboration platform 24/7. But in essence, it doesn't matter how you do it. It matters that one model is accessible to all with all the information in there as it has the latest state of the model. And you can store information such as costs, execution, fire safety, and so much more. But what is now better than the real-time adaptation of BIM data being mixed with the real adaptation of the geometry, as can be done easily by generative design? Well, personally, I guess there is nothing better than that. And that's also what Bricsys thought when creating the Grasshopper-BricsCAD connection. Really, anything can be realized now. Your wildest design ideas containing the much needed BIM information, well, what more can you want? Well, I actually wanted more. I wanted to avoid repetitive designing in BIM, and I wanted to go further with my generative designs. I wanted to make nice visualizations. I wanted to make plans. I wanted to make quantity takeoffs. So that is what I will show you now in a real live demo. And now I switched screens. So let's start with the demo. Here you see, to be honest, this is my mother's home. This demo all started thanks to my mother. Not so long ago, she told me that she wanted a patio cover, to be exact, for this part of the terrace here, adjacent the garden house that we have. And well, she asked me, of course, as a BIM expert, to model it, because yeah, you have a daughter as BIM expert, so why not use it? Well, instead of just modeling with our standard BricsCAD BIM tools, I thought to go for a parametric approach. Not only because my mother would definitely go all like, hey, Fleur, can you make this a little bit higher? Or can you make this a little bit wider? Or can you open the lamella of the patio while you're busy? Well, no, she would definitely want all that, and it would not be possible that easily with just BricsCAD. But with BricsCAD and Grasshopper, I could realize that. And I also wanted to go further myself. I wanted really to see the impact of the sun during the day and see where the design needed to be adapted to provide sufficient shade. Well, I will highlight this further in the demo how I did that. But first, let us start by launching the Grasshopper script. You see, as Jean-Philippe mentioned, that thanks to the Rhino Grasshopper, the Grasshopper BricsCAD plugin, you have now two tabs, one tab in BricsCAD Extra with two buttons, Rhino and Grasshopper. And if I just click the Grasshopper button, you see a window popping up. If I make this window a little bit smaller, you still see the background of BricsCAD. But let's cover the basics first. So here you see the flow of a script from input over the steps, the transformation steps to achieve the output, which I will be able to bake into BricsCAD. But let's first start with showing that this connection is really real time. So if I just put my screen a little bit in split mode, you always have not enough space on your screen when you're using Grasshopper and BricsCAD and all the other programs, but I will still try to do it on one screen so you see it's possible. So here you see that there is a patio. And well, as I said before, my mother, well, she didn't know what she wanted yet. So maybe the length, it should be changed to something more. So let's say it needs to be almost 4 meters instead. Then you see the design automatically adapts. That's really what generative design can mean for you. You can adapt at any point in time your design so that it recalculates everything in the script so that the output that you see in BricsCAD can be changed and adapted to your designs. So this is really the direct link between BricsCAD and Grasshopper, thanks to the plugin, but the connection means more. What it's important to highlight is that you also have a tools tab here with special tools made for the use in Grasshopper with tools from within BricsCAD. So it's a custom tool set that allows you to use BIM inside Grasshopper. That's a very important thing, as Rhino itself is not a BIM modeler, it's a 3D modeler. But BricsCAD is a BIM tool. So with the BricsCAD Grasshopper connection, you can indeed incorporate BIM data into your script. And I will show that by showing you the profile library that Jean-Philippe was talking about. So here you see that we chose a certain profile. Yes. And what if I now want a profile that has a little bit of a thicker flange? Well, here I have, this is a component here. It's called the profiles picker with profiles names and profile sizes. Well, I did that here as well. I have, no, here, yes. I have here the profile name, namely SHS. And you can see if I click this button that I can choose to change it to any type of format of standard that I want. For example, now it won't fit, but I can choose IPE. I guess it's just not visible, but I can now choose SHS again. And then, as I said, you can thicken the flange thickness, or you can make it thinner. So that's really because I now cycle through all the profiles that are in the profile library of BricsCAD. So here, this is just a standard profile, but in BricsCAD, you can add any profile you like in the profile library. I can just show you the profile library in BricsCAD. You see here all the domains, all the standards, and then all the shapes, the standard shapes. You see, yeah, if I just put this aside a little bit, you see, for example, the one I'm using now is in the rectangle column. So that's all possible, but you can also add your own profiles by just drawing a 2D section, and then you can input that in the profile library, and you can also access it in Grasshopper. So let me show you that. If I just open up this section, you will see that the lamella are not standard. They are really an interesting shape. Developed by the manufacturer of the patio cover, and this is possible to also make in your Grasshopper model by just using the connection between Grasshopper and BricsCAD profile library. So I will be able to bake this lamella into BricsCAD. Baking is a process of converting this preview, which is just only a preview, to real native BricsCAD geometry. So that's the bi-directional connection that we mean. But first, let me show you the first direction. So here you see that I inputted a point. If I just set another point, I can change the location of the structure to here, for example. And then if we just wait a bit, then you see that the patio cover now has been adapted from one point to another point. Let me just put it back to the original location. And then you can see that it stands again in the right direction, but you can adapt your input, which is a BricsCAD point in this case, and you can adapt it through your Grasshopper script. You can set a new point as input, and then everything will be recalculated until you can bake something in BricsCAD. So that's the other direction of the bi-directional connection, which I will show you now. I actually, when I bake this profile, I replace it by another profile, namely from lamella, this easy lamella form. I will go to an intricate lamella upon baking. So if I bake into BricsCAD, you can see that you get a little screen saying that you want to change layers or that you want another material or color. I will just accept now. And then if we wait a bit, you see that now I have this this intricate shape, and it's really showing you the possibilities of the mix between the profile library of BricsCAD and the Grasshopper connection. So you can bake, upon baking, you can even complicate your model even more without having to like burden your Grasshopper script with very difficult shapes. So that's what I wanted to show here. But remember that once you bake, everything is really set into BricsCAD. You can from then on, you can start to model things in BricsCAD. So let me show you how I bake the other profiles. So yes, here and here. And then I can also bake those. And then we can actually close this script down and the preview will disappear. And we will just see the whole model in BricsCAD. Now I can select it. Now I can also start push-pulling, for example. That was not the direction I was intending for, but it's also push-pulled. So you can see that now it's adapted, and I will just change it back. So you can really adapt your model to anything you like afterwards still, but it's not parametric anymore once you bake it. It's the same principle as in Rhino, as in Grasshopper in Rhino. So actually everything, if you're used to Grasshopper in Rhino, feels the same. It's just Rhino is running in the background. You don't really see it, as you noticed, but it's running in the background, allowing you to do all these things. And then you can see the preview in BricsCAD directly. But let me now just undo the baking by just going back in time, just deleting, just going through some Control Z's here. And then I will show you what I meant with the study of the study of the shades in Enscape. Is that so? I wanted to study the shades. How will I do that? I will render. It's another plugin in Enscape. It's another plugin for BricsCAD that allows you to really see the shades change throughout the day. So allow me to change back the script to the original length my model had in mind. So it's 2 meters and 80 centimeters. And if I now start Enscape, you will be able to see how the shade looked like when we first had the design in mind. Just trying to dock this here. Yes, no, that's the other screen. Okay, yes. And then now still this one. Yep. So you see, you never have enough space on your screen, but still it allows me to show you everything normally. So here you see that the shade, if I just zoom in, I'm no gamer, so I always have a little bit trouble spanning in this, but as you can see, I'm now flying around till the patio and I can walk. It's also Enscape. If you want to know more about that, I think a recording is available online or training is available on our YouTube channels. So here you see that the shade is not really sufficient to really shade the terrace. If I go through the day and turn back in the day, you see that the shade is not really that long or anything. So I will change the script to 1 meter extra. And then you see that suddenly the shade is sufficient to cover the part of the terrace that we want to be covered. So that's really how you can very easily mix Grasshopper and Enscape to really design as on the fly and to really go through the extra things as to, for example, change the lamella. If I just stand here, you can see that if I now change the the angle of the lamella, I can now change it. I'm opening it so more sunlight is let in. I am going a little bit further so that it's almost closed. And then we can close it completely and you see how the shade suddenly is very dense and you can really sit in the full shade. So this is really, just imagine that you are a garden designer yourself and just imagine how much time you would spare by not needing to go back and forth between different variants. You can design it once in this Grasshopper script and then you can use it every time again to show different adaptations to different customers. You can even adjust it in real time. As you sit with your customer, you can do what I just did and tell them, okay, you want it to be in the other part of your garden? Well, I can let it stand in the other part of your garden. If you want it to stand on this side of the terrace, just find your spot, and then it will just change place, and you will see that now it's standing at the other side of the garden. You want 2 frames, you want an extra frame? Well, I can give you an extra frame. I can give you 3 even. So everything is possible as long as you do not bake it. Everything is possible. And then once you bake it, that's really important to notice, you can go further. I can show you the finalized baked project that my mother had in mind. And here you can see it's with some furniture already. It's if you would render this, you would get even nicer images that were shown on the PowerPoint presentation already. And if I now go to my project, you can see that this is a BIM project. So it's really important to note, I haven't stressed it enough, I think, that here in Grasshopper, you also, when you bake it, that's maybe something that I will show you first before I go to the next phase, is that you go and you can, if I bake this, for example, I'm happy with where the patio is now. So if I bake this, you see that some data is attached. Now you can see that BIM beam is attached to all this geometry. It's in patio, it's in the building patio, it's in the story floor 0. So this is actually what's possible with BricsCAD and Grasshopper together, is that you can assign BIM data to your scripts immediately. So just if you have a script that came from a previous background in Rhino and Grasshopper themselves, then you can now add the BIM data in just a matter of clicks. It's just here at your fingertips. And then you can add the data. And if I now bake all of this again, as I did before, let me just close down Enscape for a moment and open BricsCAD again. Yes. Okay, now you see that the new location has been set. And here, if I now open the properties, you see that this is a beam. So instead of baking it and then BIMifying it like you could do as well, of course, you can actually very precisely and accurately design which part has to be which data. For example, this is a column, it's on patio, it's in the floor 0. It even has its profile name attached to it. So everything, every BIM information that you want is there. You can also set, after baking, you can still set in your Grasshopper script some extra properties, or in BricsCAD, of course. And then you can see, if I just change this to the structure browser in the BIM, that you have here a patio with a floor, with beams and members, and you can easily select them as you go and design your project further. So, but once you have your project, you can see that this is, for example, a finished project where you see that I made sections and plans. If I just open that one up, it's just as before, but now instead of being preview geometry, it's real baked geometry. So you can see how it looks like, the section, but you would want this section to also come onto a sheet. So that's very easy in BricsCAD. You just have your project browser, you select everything, you set your sheets in sheet setup, and then I can display the view, which is here. It's a plan view in this case, where you can see exactly how the columns are placed. You have their naming, their tags. You see how thick they are. You see where on the tile they need to get. You see their connection with the garden house. And then if you go further, you can also see some elevations. How does it look like? You can see here some elevations that show you the side view. And then here you have a section showing you again the intricate profile that we used from the profile library, showing you the beams, B2 with some standard. And so this is really very powerful. In no time, you can even automate this with list routines and such, which is also very, as Jean-Philippe already mentioned, which is also very easy to do within Grasshopper. You can actually script your way to automation. But in a sense, you can just have everything that you need here. Also, imagine you're a manufacturer. You can make your plans. You can make your cutouts for your machines. You can make your quantity takeoff, showing you exactly the length of every profile, showing you the volume of aluminum, for example, that you will need, showing you the profile standard that you need. So everything is there, the mounts, it's a schedule in this case. And really this whole demo, I hope it was able to show you just how much you can automate, how much you can, even for smaller projects, how you can use Grasshopper to full efficiency for showing visualizations, but also for showing finished plans and sections, and to really just use your imagination. Everything is possible. And I guess that's our nice words to conclude this demo. So I go back to Jean-Philippe.
Thank you, Fleur, for the great demo. Now, let me give you an overview here of what you need to run all this from a practical point of view. And remember that we'll be jumping into the Q&A session in a couple of minutes, so send all the questions you still have. But let us have a look at the setup. You need, of course, BricsCAD BIM. And with us, you can get a free 30-day trial when downloading from our website. You do need, of course, Rhino and Grasshopper, and more specifically, the Rhinoceros WIP, which stands for Work in Progress. This is downloadable from the McNeel websites, but you will need a Rhino 6 license from them. You need to arrange your actual Grasshopper license directly with McNeel and Associates and not with Bricsys. Good to know, however, is that Rhino licenses are perpetual. Once purchased, they are owned for life. Only when you wish to upgrade to a newer version, a fee is required. But let us be clear that this is another strong point of what you find with the McNeel community. Last but not least, you need the Rhino Grasshopper plugin. Now, we have created that one, and it's open source. And you can download it for free from our application store. I will explain in detail where you can get it in the next slide. But please note, the Rhino Grasshopper tools need to be purchased via Robert McNeel and Associates. So we do not offer the whole package as a license bundle, but we do offer an integrated technology, which allows you to experience these two great tools like BricsCAD BIM and Grasshopper as an integrated solution. We do this while keeping the highest flexibility for everyone. Now, where to find the plugin? It is available in our online application store. You go to bricsys.com, click on Products, Third-Party Applications, or simply follow the link bricsys.com/applications and search for Grasshopper. Once you follow that link, you can get more details about the Rhino Grasshopper connection for BricsCAD BIM. During the demo, Fleur was showing our rendering tool. This is Enscape for BricsCAD, and we offer this as well in our application store. Now, please note that Enscape for BricsCAD is a specific software developed by Bricsys on top of an OEM version of Enscape, and you can purchase it via our application store. So for Rhino Grasshopper, we offer the free plugin. For rendering, we offer Enscape for BricsCAD at a very reasonable price and only to be purchased from our application store. Also, you can reach and find Grasshopper from within BricsCAD, as Rhino Grasshopper is part of our collective, just on the start page of BricsCAD. Please have a look as well on our events page at bricsys.com/events. There you will find info about our next webinars, as well as the recorded sessions of past webinars. In a few days, this webinar as well will be posted there for you to view. Do not hesitate to share this link with other people, colleagues, friends who might be interested in learning what we can do. Now, we check if there are still open questions. We already want to thank you for the massive response and interest in this and previous webinars. It is really a joy for us to share our knowledge and to notice that so much people are out there and eager to learn. We will keep the Q&A form open for some minutes. Please type down your questions there, or contact us later via mail or via our website should you have any further queries. We will be glad to help. Have a nice day, stay safe, and hope to see you next time again.